Please help support the channel by visiting our Amazon store, affiliate link below.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Matt Jarbo. This is 3 Buck Theater, and this is my review, my what I think of Marvel's Inhumans, Episode 4, Make Way for Medusa. It's a horrible title to a very mediocre episode, is the best way to describe it. We're halfway through Marvel's Inhumans at this point, right? We are literally 4 episodes out of 8. It's halfway done. I'm trying to see salvation. I'm trying to see what they might be trying to do next. And I can see a lot of it. I can see a lot of what's going on. I can see the what's being laid out. All things considered, not a giant fan. It's because it's getting predictable. It's getting super predictable. Super network television procedural predictable is what it's at. So this time around, right, obviously at the end of last episode, I should say, Blackbolt escaped from prison with the help of a scientist and another dude who I actually really liked. That guy. I thought he was great. He was good in this episode too. And they're taken to a secret facility on the north part of Oahu. So this billionaire privately funded scientist can, work on Blackbolt's DNA to understand how he's able to do what he's able to do. And they don't really say it, but they kind of hint at it. Maybe fix him, maybe help him be able to speak and not, open his, try to talk and kill everybody, right? But at the same time, we discover that this guy is secretly working for Maximus, who apparently has ties to a lot of people on Earth, although he's never actually been there. So that doesn't make a lot of sense. We know he's been planning a coup for a while. This is not something that's out, that hasn't been talked about. And at this time around, everyone is still back down on Earth. All of his minions are tracking down Gorgon, who is still with those Hawaiian guys he met, who are also ex-military, who all still have their automatic weapons, and they're still running through the wilds of the island. I know Oahu is a big place, and I know a lot of it is kind of jungly, but I feel like there's no one else on this island. I feel like this island is entirely deserted because we rarely ever see any other people. Gorgon gives this whole speech about how he's got to find his family, he's got to find Karnac. He's got to protect his people. He looks at these new dudes as his family. He's been there for like 2 days. He's like, you're my family. I protect my family. I got to go off on my own, because one of the guys died. One of the dudes from the last episode actually succumbed to his wounds from the encounter with Maximus's minions. And then, they all felt bad and whatnot. And so at the same time, and this is where I feel probably the 2 best plot lines of the episode were all about Medusa and Karnac. But first, we have Crystal. At the end of the last episode, Crystal had teleported to Earth with Lockjaw. Lockjaw kind of put her in the middle of the jungle, and some dude named Dave ran into Lockjaw with his quad, hurting him. And so Crystal basically convinces him to call in a veterinarian that he knows. That woman happens to show up. It's actually Dave's ex-girlfriend. They broke up a year earlier. There's a lot of banter back and forth. It was playful banter. I thought it worked out well. There's clearly a dislike there, and the 2 actors have a chemistry in that regard. And Crystal's like, so why do you guys hate each other? Like, I don't get it, and then she's like, oh, well, we used to date. And then Snyder Mark. Of course, they're trying to set up the relationship between Crystal and Dave. That's going to be what they're going for. At the same time, I thought to myself, that's kind of dumb. Like, clearly Dave and the vet had chemistry. Having her come back around in order to continue working on Lockjaw, who apparently is fine, but he just needs to rest somehow. Like, he's all damaged, he's all injured. She walks over and she's like, oh yeah, no, when I'm done here, he'll be good. Without ever saying really what it was. She just like, he'll be all right. Never seen anything like him before. She freaks out for half a second, checks him out. He'll be fine. He's good. He needs the rest. And then they're trying to do like a human moment with Crystal and Dave. He's like, huh? High five? Picks up her hand, slaps it. That's a high five on Earth, baby. And it's so, again, it's like the doe-eyed princess meeting the rough and tumble surfer Zen dude, who they're trying to set up like a relationship there, sort of thing. I just felt it was really forced. You could see it coming at the end of the last episode, when the guy took off his helmet and we see what he looks like, and she's right there. Like, you're like, oh yeah, I can already see where this is going. It's already kind of stupid. And then, like I said, Medusa had the best plot, I think. Not the most contrived, but I think it was like, it's what drove the story forward across the board. So she is with Louise, right? They've now officially gotten together in terms of becoming like a pair of friendship, so to speak. And, well, okay, it starts off at gunpoint, right? Medusa's got Louise at gunpoint. They're driving through the streets of Oahu. Again, no one's really out there. No one's really driving around. They're chasing after this helicopter after a prison break, and there's you know, like no cops around except for when they run a red light and magically a cop is there. He's not even racing to the prison to fight back, right? To check it out. He's just randomly on patrol. Oahu's not that big. You figure they all would have been aware. There's a prison break on Oahu. Be careful. We have prisoners who escaped. Keep on the eye, you know. And then she ends up shooting at them with her gun and, like, you know, takes out their tire with like her blaster pistol, so to speak. Louise is like, you shot at a cop, right? And whatever. But they end up going back to the hotel, and she's trying to track down the helicopter. And then Medusa is, you know, thumbing through her stuff and whatever, and clearly, you know, fish out of water. I'm also anxious to find my husband, so on and so forth. The cops end up coming to the hotel. This part was kind of cool because it was kind of, I think, a little bit of smart writing where, you know, she's like, okay, we got to ditch the car, but doesn't, you know, forgets that she paid for the rental car and her hotel on the same credit card. So the cops just tracked it down. Her and Medusa get out of there, albeit by like the skin of their teeth, so to speak. And then they take off to go and track down the helicopter again. When Louise finds it, Medusa then steals her laptop and leaves her at this burger joint to kind of fend for herself. And then, of course, Louise steals another car. By the way, it's a convertible. Not a blue convertible like Ridley Scott's Thelma and Louise, but it is a red convertible. So my first joke was, oh, it's Medusa and Louise. Coming to you soon in theaters, brought to you by Ridley Scott. Because at this point in Ridley Scott's career, I feel like that's something he would probably entirely make. So you've got that. And then, of course, you know, you've got Maximus. He's trying to, at this point, try and get the genetic council to allow him to go through the Terrigenesis machine again in order to see whether or not his abilities are just dormant and he needs another boost. But when he discovers that the scientist that he hired essentially says, like, hey, man, like, look, we can harvest his DNA and we can put it into things. So Maximus now wants Blackbolt's DNA in order to be able to then put it in him, to put him through the Terrigenesis machine again, to bring out his abilities. It seems like a solid play, right? For a megalomaniac, right? It seems like a solid enough play. I was like, yeah, all right, I get his motivations. But then you've got a buddy of his from when he was a kid, who's now the guy running the genetic council. And like they have some back and forth, and it just like, you know, he was like, no, I really shouldn't do this. And then when given the opportunity to kind of like back up Maximus, of which case he said he was loyal, he ends up turning him down, you know, speaking for the council, saying, no, you can't go through with this. So then Maximus essentially has the genetic council beaten to a pulp and then exiled, but we don't know if he had him killed. Like they're all standing there, guards run in, they all got their guns drawn, think, oh, they're just gonna freaking execute him. But they beat him up and then drag him away. And then it goes over to the other guy from the council, and he's like, you know, hey, Maximus, will you ever forgive me for what I did? You know, and he's like, oh, forgiveness is blah blah blah, it's a terrible thing, sort of, and whatever. Like, oh, is he gonna kill him? I think he's gonna kill him. I'm pretty sure he's gonna kill him, because that's kind of what Maximus is all about right now. Just killing things. He doesn't understand. You know, ego and narcissism come into play. The plot lines are progressing, but they're also kind of like, this is very much a filler episode. I feel like this is not procedural television, it's serialized television, but this is one of those like character driven episodes where each character gets a little bit, so we expand a bit more. Gorgon comes across as just a whiny person. Maximus is still the best actor on the show, but I do feel the best lines went to Medusa, hence why the name of the episode is Make Way for Medusa, because she got the most action and she got kind of some good witty dialogue. And Serinda Swan and the woman who plays Louise, they have a little bit of chemistry there too. And so you could see a budding friendship, and they had some, you know, like after some really corny dialogue about like how Louise is like, my father died as scientist, never going to the moon. And then, you know, Medusa's like, yeah, well, my parents died as like, you know, standing up for what they believed in. And then it cuts to her and Crystal, like finding out when they were younger that their parents were branded as traitors and exiled. Leads me to believe that if the show does get a season 2, if they go back to Attalan, they're probably going to meet their parents, because they're clearly not dead, because this is a comic book show. And unless you literally watch somebody get eviscerated like Blackbolt's parents did when he opened his mouth, yeah, they're all kind of dead. But anyway, what I want to kind of finish this up with is the Karnac story. The Karnac story is where I believe the show was the most interesting. He is still with the pot farmers, right? So in the last episode, he found his way onto a pot farm that was being run by 3 people illegally in public land on Hawaii. That made very little sense to me. Like I said, everyone's in the jungle on this show. Like there's no city, there's no city. It's just there's just this jungle. Everyone's in the jungle. And of course, he ends up, kind of hitting on the girl that kind of took pity on him, right? The one girl, it was one girl and 2 dudes. And the main guy clearly is a sociopath. And, and the jealous type, so on and so forth. And so Karnac, starts, working on their pot farms. He's like, oh, here's how we do irrigation. This should yield you 53% more crops, right? And she's like, wow, you're really good at this. Ha, 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 tee, hee, hee. Hey, let's go swimming. So she brings him down to the water and she starts taking off her clothes. She's like, take off your clothes. Come on, let's go. And he's all like, yeah, I've never gone. All right. And then she goes to kiss him. And this part cracked me up because when she goes to kiss him, it literally is the most forced kiss I've ever seen. When she kissed him, Karnac, either the actor Ken Leung or Leung or whatever his name is, either he wasn't aware that she was going to do it right then because she literally grabs him by the back of the head and pulls him in, and he resists. So I don't quite know why that take was in there. I understand the idea there is that he's never been in the water, but it's not like he's never been with a woman. That makes no sense because we know for a fact, from the first episode, he was telling the one servant girl, yeah, we'd have fun for 2 or 3 days, and then I get bored of you, and then I'd kick you out. Right. And clearly him not being able to access his abilities entirely makes everything going on with this woman unpredictable, which is what's causing him to want to be with her. Right. And she clearly is digging him back, even though I found it to be really funny that when she stripped down to her underwear, she had a tramp stamp. It was a butterfly. It was a tasteful butterfly, but a tramp stamp nonetheless. And I happened just to chuckle at that. All right. As a person who was in his early 20s when the tramp stamp phase was all the rage, you have to just kind of laugh at anyone who still has one. Laser surgery removal of these things are possible. But anyway, at the end of the episode, talks about the guy, I think his name is Steve, the sociopath guy, and the other dude, Roger or something, is all like, oh man, ha ha ha, you gotta trust this new guy. You didn't trust me when you first met me either. Ha ha ha. And then we find out, at the end when Karnac and the girl are getting down in the tent. By the way, the tent had no top cover on it, right? So the tent had no top cover. So you see the tent, you hear music, they're making out. He takes off her bra. The camera pans to the one dude digging what looks like a grave. You're thinking, oh, he's digging some graves. He's going to try to kill him. And then the camera pulls back and he killed the other dude that's there. For no reason. For no real reason, he killed that guy. His motivations to kill him made no sense. The guy did nothing wrong. Made a comment later, earlier, oh, you didn't really know me and we met either. Ha ha ha, tee hee hee. We're best friends, so to speak. And that's that. I found it to be very odd. Again, but you could see this happening. You could see that this guy was gonna do something to try to kill both of them, and I didn't know he was gonna. I thought he was gonna get the other buddy involved, but it turns out he actually killed the guy. I guess to get more of the crop to take out Karnac and get the woman, I guess, and not have anyone get in the way, no one asking any questions. I don't know. It's just what's going on with this. Answer me that, Scott Buck. But the episode, the climax, so to speak, not Karnac's climax, although that guaranteed happened. There was Blackbolts trying to get out of the facility, realizing that there's poison that they're trying to kill him with because Maximus told the guy to kill him, even though the doctor wasn't going to do it. Right, but still the guy figured it. Blackbolt figured it out, and on the way out, Mortis shows up, the other people show up, and they say, "Hey, look, we've got Medusa. You come with us, you're fine, and we won't kill her." And then Medusa shows up, and causes hits Mortis with the car. Mortis's mask comes off, hits a gas tank, blows everybody up, and except for Locust, who is the one of the girls who can use echolocation to find people. She can find anybody. So she's injured, but she's knocked out. So they throw her in the trunk of the car and they all take off, leaving the dude, the Inhuman with the fire hands and whatnot. The Hawaiian dude. He's a cool guy. Why didn't he he ran away? Why in that moment when the explosion happened didn't he come running back oh, hey, what's up, dog? Can I come with you guys? And then they all bomb off together. But I guess he was only contracted for 2 episodes. Like I said, this is very much a character episode. It's meant to service the plot and push it forward. there, it's still like it's the biggest setback to the show is the corny ass dialogue. That is the biggest setback to the show. Everyone's motivations make sense. Gorgon is clearly the worst. That actor is not bad, but the dialogue is horrible. And it's just like, it just, get everyone back together again so we can start moving along this plot. I guarantee you at the end of the next episode, Crystal and Lockjaw are going to be back with everybody. And Karnac is probably going to end up being saved by everybody at the end when they figure out where he's at because Locust is going to help him. Like, that's what's going to, that's the thing. But we're halfway done with this series. And the back four are coming up over the course of the next month. And it really, I don't know. I can't quite see where things are going. That is, unless they start really ramping up the plot. Now that Blackbolt's no longer in, no longer being looked at by the scientist. And the scientist even said, like, hey, I need him alive in order to do these tests. Right? Because Medusa, or because Maximus is like, you could just kill him, take his DNA. And he goes like, no, I need it. So now that he's gone, like, they're not going to have the DNA, so they're not going to be able to come up with something in order to be able to give it to Maximus. However, they might just take movie logic or comic book logic and go, well, we were able to make it work enough with the DNA samples that we took from him, which is probably what's going to happen, because at this point, it's pretty much the only thing that's going to further the plot. That is, and this is where my mind kept going, is essentially, oh, yeah, they might do that, or they might find a supply of the fish oil tablets or pills that were at the end of season 2 of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. when the Kree DNA got into the fish at the end of the episode, end of the season, and then that went out there and started triggering Inhumans. So if they can find that and then give that to Maximus, then he can go in the Terrigenesis machine and then see what he gets out of that. Those are pretty much the only two options I can think of at this point. The show is kept my interest. It's not something that I'm like, I'm going to rush home to go see. I flew in back from Los Angeles at midnight last night. I waited till now to watch it. If it was the Orville, I would have gotten home, watched it, reviewed it. But yeah, they so desperately need to get better writers. And I keep saying it, and I keep mentioning it. Get rid of Scott Buck. Anyway, what do you guys think about this? Let me know in the comments below. If you guys saw it, if any of you guys are still watching it at this point, I'm curious to know. My name is, of course, Matt Jarbo. This has been 3 Buck Theater. I'll talk to you guys later. Have yourself a fantastic day, and peace out.